Good morning, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to the Mesa City Council study session for the morning of Thursday, February the 2nd. All of our council is present. The first item on our agenda for this meeting is a presentation and to provide direction on the American Rescue Plan Act funded Downtown District Revitalization Project. Welcome, Mr. McVeigh and Mr. Rodriguez.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Jeff McVeigh, Manager Downtown Transformation, and with me today making his council debut is Anthony Rodriguez, a specialist on my team. Today we are here to give you an update on where we are with the District Revitalization Program, as well as present to you our recommendations for properties to include in the Facade Improvement Program. So to start, I want to just kind of give you a reminder of how we built the program. We are really working to help solve the problem of our colonnades. There's a long-term maintenance issues as well as some of the issues related to the architectural integration and how that has affected retail activity on Main Street. So number one of our goals is to provide a preference towards properties with colonnades. Our area that we are working with is Country Club to Center, First Street to First Avenue. And this is going to be a project in which the city is going to manage design and construction, and this will be one of our first projects in which we use the design-build method of delivery. We really do want to focus on historically sensitive design to really capture the quality and the authentic nature of our downtown and the buildings that we have. And then from a participant requirements, they will be committing to providing a 5% match to the city's contribution for construction costs. So we opened our applications towards the end of last year. We had a very good response. 39 properties owners, whether they be the actual tenants or property owners, submitted for facade improvement. 29 of those properties have colonnades and 10 of the properties are without colonnades. So consistent with our stated preference towards properties with colonnades, from the 39 applications that we received, we are recommending funding a total of 22 properties, all of which have colonnades fronting onto Main Street. But given our experience from 2017 and the facade improvement program in 2017, we are very confident that we can fund the full design and construction of 18 properties. And we are recommending an additional 4 properties as alternates, in which we are recommending that we complete design, and should the funding be available, that we would be able to move on to construction with them. Again, based on our experience in 2017, we've been fairly conservative in building our budget, knowing that we will run into unforeseen conditions, but also understanding that some of our properties probably will not use the full amount that could be allocated to them from construction, just based on the scale of their frontages things along that line. So we do believe that we should be able to fund at least 1 or 2 of the alternates. So I'm going to quickly run through our recommendations. First, the first, and these are actually in an order of priority based on staff's recommendations. First are 45 and 47 West Main. These are our top priority simply because they were participants in the 2017 program in which we completed design. However, we did not have enough funding available to complete construction. So we just want to be able to finish construction on the 2 properties in which we already have worked with. Next, the next several slides in order here are also building off the 2017 facade improvement program. By funding the design construction of facade improvements for these next several properties, we will be able to achieve a full block on the south side of Main Street between McDonald and Robeson, where all of the colonnades have been removed and all of the properties have received a facade improvement. So I'll just pause. Yes.
Is that the
just to the west of Tre Bella? Just to the east of the Tre Bella, you can see that little bit of a copper band. That is the property the city just purchased for the restaurant incubator. All right, 137 West Main. This property is currently vacant. It is, again, it's to the heading west. Just to the east of this property is History by George, Tacos Chivas, and Proof Bread, which we completed the facade improvements in 2017. This property owner is currently actively trying to seek a tenant, and we believe funding a facade improvement will help them secure a quality tenant for the space. And then continuing to the west, on the same block, 49 and 155 West Main Street. This will round out the block all the way to the west. Next to the heading, if you continue west of here, there's a small insurance agency followed by the subway and the intersection with Robeson. This one is an interesting one where 155 West Main has a tenant currently under lease. They are building out the space. From a timing perspective, we may only be funding the demolition of this site because they are at a pace of tenant build out in which they can't wait necessarily for the city's process to keep up with them. We have budgeted, this is again where we're being conservative, we have budgeted for full construction on these sites. There's another one like this where we likely will be able to use that budget for alternates in the future. And then to round off the entire block on the south side of Main, McDonald to Robeson is 101 West Main. This is just immediately to the east of the Nile, which is our poster child for facade improvement from 2017. Now, moving our recommendations to properties on the north side of Main Street. 120 West Main. You remember this as the Antique Mall in its past life. This is a space that currently has a tenant for half of the space, the Tortoise and the Hare restaurant concept, but the other half of the space is vacant, and they are still searching out tenants. One of the main reasons that we would like to recommend funding this design and construction on this property is there is long-term maintenance issues. If you look closely at this photograph, you can probably see the very obvious long-term maintenance issue on the edge of that colonnade. Again, this will be one where we move forward with demolition as quickly as possible to address that maintenance issue. And again, depending on timing for future tenant build-out, this may be a demolition only. However, we are carrying budget for full construction. Similar to the last recommendation, 18 West Main is another property that has a lease signed for a new business called Sonora and Rose. Again, based on timing of when their tenant build out will happen, we are carrying a budget for design and construction. However, we may only be funding colonnade demolition depending on how quickly they need to move for the tenant build out. This one, 15, 17, and 21 West Main, our recommendation to move forward with this properties is the fact that there is a very nice building behind that colonnade that we would really like to bring out to the public. There are 3 tenants in the space, so it's fully leased up. These are our tenants that have been here a while, and that just by helping to improve the presence on Main Street, we can definitely help improve retail activity to that location. And again, this is another site. It's not as obvious as the last one with long-term maintenance issues, but it's similar that this will also help us address some long-term maintenance issues with the colonnade itself. Most people know Pomeroy's, so 136 West Main Street. We're recommending this property because it is a great opportunity. This is a prominent building, one of our oldest buildings in downtown, and so it's a great opportunity for us to do a historically sensitive design for a facade improvement on this building. 104 West Main Street. Again, this is one of our oldest and most historic buildings in downtown, originally developed as Chandler Court. This one is interesting in that the colonnade is very historic in nature. While it's not original, it was recreated to have the same design character as the Chandler Court did when it was originally developed. So this will be one where our facade improvement will weigh heavily on that historical context and trying to, again, as in the other ones, the wood beams that make up and are the greatest character of this facade right now have some significant maintenance issues, and this will help us address those significant maintenance issues as well. There is also tenant spaces being built out going north on McDonald, as well as one that will be, it's currently construction offices for the contractor at Eco Mesa that will become vacant, and this will help, again, to help them attract a quality tenant for that space in the future. Now, those are the 18 properties in which we are very confident that we can fund full design and construction. The next 4 properties we're recommending, we would be recommending that we move forward with design only, and should funding exist, we would then move into construction. And again, this is in an order of preference from the staff's recommendation. The first is 150 West Main. Most recently, that was Desert Eagle. They have recently vacated and is now being built out by a new tenant that is going to be opening Urban Legend Brewery. So this will be our first alternate. It is a fairly good size facade, so it won't necessarily create a gap or that broken tooth syndrome that was one of our original considerations when we were going through in 2017 by having hit and miss pieces of colonnade left over. The next 3 properties are all in a row, 130, 128, and 126 West Main. Our recommendation, it would be that we would, if we were able to construct, we would construct from the west to the east. So there's a small alley at the west end of this at 130 West Main Street. And then we'd be able to head all the way over to the edge. Smith Laders is not did not apply for this program. So the one consideration we have, then there'll be a design solution that we need to work on, is a small section of colonnade could be left in front of Smith Laders that we will need to address. So, to bring us back, looking again on the map, this shows all 18 just the properties that are being recommended for inclusion, 18 for construction, then 4 alternates, all along Main Street, and we can see that there's significant sections of the Main Street frontage then that would be getting facade improvements. From a budget perspective, council had awarded $4.4 million in ARPA funding for the 18 properties that we know we can do design and construction on. We are budgeting just under $4 million. We are also budgeting approximately $60,000 to complete design on the 4 alternates, which would leave us of approximately $365,000 that's available for contingency, those unforeseen conditions of working with historic buildings. However, we are fairly confident that we'll be able to use a good portion of those fundings to complete construction on at least some of the alternates. So, after today, with council's direction, we intend to release an RFQ for our design and construction design build contractor so that we can get moving on the program. Hopefully fall, winter, we will have design and be going into permitting with construction starting in the first quarter of 2024. And then with that, we are happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Great presentation. I'm sure we've got lots of discussion. Ms. Spilsbury.
Thank you. This is so exciting. I can't wait to see it when it's all done. A few questions I had. The tenants had to actually apply for this, correct? And so did you go out and try to tell people, especially the ones that you thought maybe looked bad? Like, I mean, how were those targeted? No, but just to make sure that everyone knew and was aware and wanted to participate. How did that process work?
Mayor, Councilmember Spilsbury, we do significant outreach when we open up the program. We work with our partners at DMA to blast out to every single property owner in downtown that the program is available. We do create postcards and we do go door to door. I should say Anthony created postcards and went door to door. Anthony and in his former career, Jeff Robbins, spent nearly half a day at the Nile Theater Facade Forum Day, just essentially open office hours for anybody that had questions. They could come and ask questions, how to fill out the application. I believe the fact that we have 39 applicants is partly because they're responsible of their efforts to encourage property owners to join the program.
And I'm not very familiar with what design build actually means. So can you kind of tell me what that?
Sure. So we will be hiring a construction contractor. that construction contractor will have the obligation of completing the final design and all of the construction under their contract. It will be for a set amount available, and they will have the responsibility for a lot of the details. So from a staff perspective, it is incumbent upon us to have a very specific RFQ on the street that really highlights what our program goals and intents are, because once we sign this design build contract, it is on the contractor's responsibility to complete construction within the budget, and how they get there is their responsibility.
And it's the same contractor for all of the projects?
That is our goal.
And do the property owners have a say in like approving what it will look like and stuff, I'm assuming?
Yes. So we'll have one construction contractor, but our intent is that we will have an obligation that the contractor will have to bring on at least 3 sub-consultants, the architects, so that we have a variety of architectural design. We don't want it to have just one architect designing all of downtown. We will, at that time, be able to, in the last program, we actually had, we called speed dating for architects, where each of the property owners got to meet with each of the 3 architects we had selected, and they gave us their recommendations of who they'd like to work with. That year, we happened to be able to give everybody the architect they wanted to work with. We have so many more properties this year, I don't know if it will work out, but we will work with the property owners, and they will be part of this the whole way. When it comes to the actual design, they are our client. The architect will meet with the property owners. The city will have influence on design because we do have stated goals, and we do have everybody that was selected, check the box that said that they wanted to do a historically sensitive design. So we will be, sitting next to them, making sure that we feel comfortable that it's meeting the intent of our goals as well.
Okay, and I know, so if this works on the facades of these, so does the city have any say in the storefronts themselves? What I'm thinking of is some other reception centers that are absolutely gorgeous inside, but they look horrible from the street. So, is there anything we can do about that, or do we have any say?
Well, Councilmember Spilsbury, without saying any names.
Yeah, I didn't say any names.
Without saying any names, there is a section of Main Street on the south side that has a few reception centers. The operators of that reception center, and also the owner of one of the buildings, has made it very clear that with this facade improvement, their intent is to turn the activity towards Main Street.
Okay.
To open up the front to Main Street. Speaking with them, they actually had significant reasons why they had the front door be on the back side. So I guess the short answer is yes. We will. One of our very, after removing colonnades, I'd say our second goal is the activation of Main Street. So a nice facade with windows that you still can't see and doesn't achieve that goal.
Okay, my last question. I was speaking with a downtown business owner yesterday who's been there for about 40 years, who's very concerned about the downtown area and has a lot of desire to make it look better. He is very concerned about parking, as I'm sure we all are. Sorry, I'm bringing this up again. But he talks to people constantly that won't come, like he has an empty spot next to him. And so, prospective tenants don't come because of the parking and drawing bigger restaurants or whatever. And then we have all these housing units that will be finished soon. So, what is our plan? I keep hearing about the parking garage, but what are we doing so that we can actually bring in all these businesses with parking?
So, Councilmember Spilsbury, just kind of tongue in cheek, I could look at Jim Smith and say, "This isn't agendized. Can I avoid parking talk?"
But no, it works with this because it doesn't work with this. It has to work with this.
What I can tell you, Councilmember Spilsbury, is that some of our businesses that have been here a very long time have a different impression of the parking needs and the parking supply. We have no lack of parking in downtown. There are 10,000 parking spaces.
I hear that, but
and we have never had a concern voiced to us from customers that are unable to find parking spaces. The concerns that we are given are businesses, the owners of the businesses and their employees who no longer can park immediately in front of their business or immediately behind their business, and are now having to buy permits where it used to be that we just turned a blind eye completely to enforcement. It has been a change in how we are are dealing with parking in downtown, but it's a necessary change in order to get the turnover of vehicles that we need. I can tell you that when we speak with new businesses, as they're considering downtown, when parking comes up, the only concern that they have is whether or not the city can provide permit spaces for their employees. And we are, and admittedly, we are challenged in providing permit spaces, but from a customer experience perspective, I have no concern that the increased activity that will come from this facade improvement will cause parking problems for our visitors.
Well, I mean, if we're going to spend over $4 million on making these places look better, I think it absolutely pertains to this. So I'm really not going to worry about that because I think it works. But I don't want to wait until we have a problem.
Right.
So, and also if we're not attracting bigger names or bigger restaurant names because of the parking, that's an issue. Whether it's an issue or not, if that's, I mean, I don't know. I think we need to be much more proactive on it. So I can leave it at that, but.
Well, and the challenge is there is a 900 space parking lot, the parking garage that is empty.
I keep hearing about
So-
that.
Well, we can walk over and go look at it.
Okay.
The problem is we don't own it, and we're hoping to try to be persuasive in that area. But it's difficult for anybody to come up with a solution of building additional capacity when there's a 900 space parking garage in downtown.
It,
So-
just human nature, that's kind of far from where we're talking. It really is. Like to
No,
walk.
but it's a dominoes game.
Yes.
So once if that's available, then other spaces, other users, including the city, can move out of that parking and move into that parking. So the availability of the 900 parking spaces will, I don't know what the word is, it'll have a trickle-down effect. I don't know if that's the right word. We'll be able to move out of city-owned parking garages, we'll be able to move 300, 600.
300 out of Pepper, 300 out of.
So that would free up another 600 spaces that would be available for downtown.
I said I was going to leave it at that, but one more thing. So the thing is I know we want this to be a walkable area, and so why would we put more parking to attract more cars? But if we want people to come in from, oh, there went my earring. That was fun. While I'm talking. So, I mean, not to mention a city to the south of us, but they have huge parking garages by their downtown area. And so guess where everyone goes to eat? Because I drive down there. So people are going to want to drive, hopefully, to this area to come eat.
We have talked about the possibility that we may have to build a parking deck if we cannot acquire the 900 empty parking spaces. But that's the question. There's 900 parking spaces in a parking garage. And do we say, sorry, we just can't make that deal? But now we're going to go spend at, what are we at? Where's about $30,000, $40,000 a parking space, parking garage? It's a tough. Well, the question is, 40. I don't know. It's 30. Let's say $30,000 a parking space. Is that right, Mark? Times, let's do 100. But that's not going to solve the problem. You need 600 parking spaces. So 600 times 30,000, and where? That's the difficulty, right? And so, yeah, we could not wait, but then if you have a 300-piece parking garage, then the 900 becomes available. So we're focused on the 900.
Well, thank you anyways for all of your work on this, and it's going to be amazing.
Not that I only joke because parking is a constant theme. Don't worry, we are parking is at the front of our mind whether we like it or not. What I can tell you, and another thing to remind you is that Eco Mesa is going to be completing its construction this summer. Upon completion of its construction, 76 public parking spaces come back into our inventory. The other thing I can tell you is, or even suggest, is that if you come down on a weekend evening sometime, you will notice that parking on the street and parking in the surface lots is a challenge. But I would ask you just to go to the Pepper Garage and see if you have any challenges. Again, we are at a state where many of our people are so used to downtown and be able to park exactly where they want to. We have a ton of parking available on even the busiest of nights. It's just people aren't necessarily used to going to those garages and then walking to their destination. So there will be a little bit of a shift in how we're used to functioning down here. And we are being proactive. The one thing, hopefully in the near future, we are preparing an RFP or an RFQ to hire a consultant to do a downtown mobility and parking study for us. So we are looking at this more proactively, in addition to hopefully, securing additional supply.
We have several other, okay, let's go, Mr. Summers. I know we've got a lot of folks
You
here.
should have started with, we're doing a study on parking and mobility, and it would have shortened it a little bit. The only question I have for you is the architects that we're looking at, do they all have experience in historic preservation and restoration?
We have not yet hired the architect, so that
Right.
will be, as we're developing our RFQ to go out and select the design build contractor, those will be amongst the requirements that we put in there. So we need 3 architects. The architects all have to have experience in historically sensitive buildings. And in 2017, when we did that facade improvement, that was one of our requirements of the architects as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. The rest of this is just comment. So of all the council members here, I probably live the farthest from downtown. I have to actually get in my car and drive there and find a parking space, which is almost impossible. They're laughing because I have a designated parking spot. So it doesn't bother me, honestly. I do agree we do need to stay ahead of the issue with the parking. I hope this project creates some parking headaches for us, because that means that we've re-energized an area, and we've been seeing such tremendous progress in downtown that I'm excited for this project. I really am. This has been a long time. It's my understanding that our downtown has some of the best concentration of historic buildings, right? Anywhere in the valley.
Unlike
And
any
it's
other places.
hidden behind some of the ugliest, best intentions I have ever seen. I am sure this relates back to a 1980s project of this council saying, how do we draw more people into downtown? We'll put some shade over the sidewalks and plant a few trees. And you covered what makes this space unique. And there is such a desire in this city for unique spaces, destinations where people can go to gather, sit down, have a meal, go to entertainment. We're hearing this in our constituency, and we have one in our downtown, but it's mostly ugly. And we could see when we strip this stuff away and put people downtown and show the history here, people want to go see that. They want to go see these old buildings. They want to sit down. They want to have, a meal in these places. So this is really an exciting project for Mesa, and a vital downtown is critical to any community. And we see that everywhere. So many communities around us that I will not name, but they know who they are, have created pretty vibrant downtowns that are artificial. And by stripping away the facades, we're creating something authentic and historic. And I'm really excited for this project. And I think there are going to be other areas of our city where we can create those spaces that, like others have done in their downtowns. We could create those spaces in other areas, and that's fine because nothing exists there now. But this is our history. This is Mesa. So I'm really excited for this project and looking forward to it. Thank you.
Councilmember Summers, thank you, and we're very pleased to welcome you to our choir.
Thank you. Mr. Heredia.
Question on what's the current, percentage of folks that remove the colonnades, and then after this project or these projects, what's going to be kind of where we're left?
Ooh, Councilmember Heredia, you stumped us on that one. I think unless you can do some quick math in your head. In 2017, we had 7 properties that we constructed. Of those properties, only 4 of them actually had colonnades. 3 were further to the west on the north side, west of Ropes, and that they were facade improvements, but they didn't have colonnades. So with this, we would have at least 21 properties, and I believe we're somewhere north of 55 total property, or 59, 60-ish. Let's say 60 or slightly less that have colonnades remaining. And so we would be removing another 20-ish of those. So we will be about a third of our downtown would be colonnade free then.
So about like 30 of them will still have colonnades, or?
So I'm giving you a very, very quick rough map.
Yeah.
What we will do is, we do have these numbers. We will go back and we'll create a summary for you. And
Okay.
yeah, approximately 40 properties. Well, on Main Street alone, there are colonnade properties that go south on McDonald and north on McDonald as well.
Does anybody like the colonnades that you, the store? Termites, yeah.
Much like Councilmember Summers had mentioned, everybody likes the shade. There are some properties in which the colonnade was more architecturally integrated than others, but I don't know that I can think of a time where there's a property owner or business said to me, we don't want to join this program because we love the colonnade on the front of our building.
Perfect, thank you.
Mr. Summers.
You know, if I could bounce off that, actually, I think replacing the colonnade with the mayor's idea of trying to plant, was it 1 million trees?
Million.
Would be a much better idea than that ugly colonnade. So I'm gonna,
Spoiler alert, that's the theme of the State of the City speech on Tuesday. But yes, there's a rumor that we might be wanting to plant more trees.
I apologize, I didn't
No,
know that was,
I'm just kidding. It's a.
I didn't know, I didn't get the memo, Mayor, I apologize.
We're trying to create some buzz around this idea, so we're acting like it's a secret.
Mayor, can I ask, so
Please.
is that, I know that's a separate program, but is that going to move in parallel with,
That's a whole separate than downtown. That's a citywide program.
oh, okay. So there's nothing specific for downtown, just downtown, in replacing shade for the colonnades?
With this project, what I can tell you, in 2017, when we did the facade improvement program, it was very rigid. It could only be the building itself. The funding made it so that we could not go beyond the building. In this program, we were a little bit more loose, or relaxed, I should say, so that we can address how the building presents to the street. Things like the patio spaces, so we can actually fund relocation of patios up against the building, and that we could also then fund landscape improvements adjacent to the building. So we do have a lot of locations in downtown where there's a landscape planter that has no tree in it. And this gives us the opportunity to also be able to then, upgrade or improve the landscaping in its current conditions.
So I do recall being part of a previous council where the streetscape, was the latest best thing we did for downtown, and we kind of had talked for hours about what trees are we going to plant here, and landscaping was a big deal. I don't hear that being
We're having those conversations internally, trying to work with property owners. There's a lot of planners that just right now, from just getting the water and the infrastructure planners fixed, we're spending some time trying to figure that out right now, because we just have some planners that just have no trees, or the water doesn't work there. So we've got to get all that figured out first in downtown. Then we're trying to work with the property owners, and there's quite a, I don't know, Jen, what you call it, difference of kind of opinion about what should be done in downtown. And so we're trying to work with the property owners on, some of them are interested in the streetscape, but some of them are less enthusiastic because of the concern that eventually the trees could block the views. And so we're trying to find some, what we call them, demonstration, I'm not sure if that's the right word, but demonstration segments of of Maine, so we can do something, because there's just a lot of work that needs to be done in that area that we recognize. So we're trying to do it in a way that respects the concerns of adjacent property owners. Some people want palm trees, some people want shade trees, and so we're trying to work our way through all that.
Great. Councilmember Duff, I know.
Well, I
this
might
has
as well
been-
start right there
Yeah.
on streetscaping. I think that was one of my first projects when I came on council, is talking with the property owners and then doing the debate over palm trees versus shade trees and such like that. But one of the biggest challenges at that time was we were just doing the facade improvement on a few properties, is finding a stretch where the improvements were already done and that we could shift the walking area where the tree, and do it all at once. So that if we couldn't, we kind of have to wait. We can do a demonstration area, and I think that's our objective, to have some agreement about that, and we need to go forward with that. But also looking at the entire downtown, where there was facades and no facades, and having that improved, but that's not improved. We've got to really have large stretches of that change, of the improvement of the colonnade removed in order to do the streetscaping, because there's a lot of construction and cost. But it would be great if we were doing it at the same time as far as disruption, because I know the property owners, the business owners. We've had so much wonderful development downtown, but because of that, it seems like we're in a constant state of disruption from various construction projects and things like that. We're making progress, but it does have impacts on the businesses. So I do think, could we integrate, and that's one of my notes for today, is getting on to integrating these streetscaping projects. At the same time, we're doing facade improvement where it makes sense, that we don't have for ADA and other reasons, we have to have a contiguous walkway and the investment in the trees. And by the way, trees are the way to go. Everybody loves trees that have shade. And so I'm glad we're gonna have shade trees along Main Street. So we'll leave it at that. I think it was just one property owner that disagreed.
You're right.
It was just one. So it's a democratic environment, so we can move forward. Not saying that I have a majority vote, I'm just saying there's a lot of people who share my opinion. So the property owners are the ones who will make the 5% match, right? Okay, all right.
Well, in some instances, it will actually be the tenant.
Right.
So some property owners are willing to let their tenant be the applicant
Okay.
and have signed the program application, but they will have to sign off on the design because it is their property, but they are not committing to the funding, which in some cases, it's a handful where the tenants will be covering that.
Right. And then the signs, some of those are signs that were part
Yes.
of our sign program. They'll be reused?
Yes.
Okay, that's good, because that's a certain cost. And there's a lot of wish for that sign package, to find funding for a sign package to continue. So especially with the facade coming down and the improvement of the areas, to have fresh signage that fits the building. So that signage, I assume, is not part of the funding, or is?
Signage is eligible under
Okay.
the program. And
Awesome.
in addition to that, we do have another $100,000 sign grant program that is currently open to businesses. Those were SRP MIC gaming grant dollars that we received at the end of last year, and we just opened up that
that's right.
program for applications last month.
Yeah.
Great. Already I touched upon, I was interested in what percent we would achieve, because it would be great to have the majority of Main Street done. I know we have more on the sides, but I'm prioritizing that. Are we going to do, I assume it's required for ARPA, a study on the ROI, their economic return?
Yes.
On before and after, and what that means? I know when we did before, the Nile had like a 38%
Yes.
increase in their business and such, but
Yes, so as our metrics of success under this program, and that we'll be reporting to the Treasury Department as part of the ARPA, it's on a district basis though. So unlike 2017 where we could go to the Nile and the Nile will give us individual improvements, we are going to be looking at a whole sales tax receipts essentially for the downtown and any increase there, number of new businesses attracted or retained, and hopefully the increase in employment will be our major three criteria.
great. So for each one of the businesses in downtown, is it the budget determined by frontage, square feet, as far as how much is allocated for their particular business or that property?
going to give Anthony an opportunity because now you're getting into the weeds.
Yes, so it is based on the linear frontage of the property. It's essentially the formula worked out based on the 2017 program and including some escalators. It essentially comes down to $7,500 per linear square foot with a maximum of $250,000 per property, depending on the size of the frontage. Now that includes direct construction costs, which cover design, demolition, and the construction of the facade, as well as our city overhead and contingency as well.
Hey, and I will say a significant contingency this time. In 2017, we were caught off guard by a couple properties, so this time we built in a bit more buffer room.
Good, good, okay. I think that's about all I have. I would like to say that Mesa's downtown has the longest stretch of historic buildings than any other city in the metropolitan area. And to showcase this with this program, I think it would be remarkable and becoming the destination that we all want. Thank you.
Amen. Other comments? I'll just, I don't have any questions. I think I'm delighted that we're past the point of questioning. We used to have to defend, justify why we're spending money in downtown, and it's wonderful to be part of the choir now that we've moved beyond that. And we do need to get out of the colonnade business. So I'm glad that we're continuing to do that. I'll just share that last Saturday night, my adult children and I had a great experience celebrating one of their birthdays in downtown Mesa. I was delighted that I had to drive around for probably 10 or 15 minutes to find a parking place. We've always said we aspire to have a parking problem in downtown Mesa, and no, we did walk. I mean, we went to dinner at Espiritu, which blew my mind, and then we walked over to Novel for ice cream, and the place was hopping. You know, it was crowded with people, and just, you know, the strolling around to get from point A to point B. Yes, there are still some broken teeth. Is that the phrase we're using? And so but the thing that's exciting is that we are on the cusp, I can tell, of another leap forward. You know, all of the properties that are just about to happen. I mean, not long from now, it's going to go from being, wow, that was a really neat experience, to, wow, when did, you know, this overnight success that's been decades in the making is a real thing. So I'll just, you know, offer that testimonial that this is already doing. We've got a lot of momentum, and I think this is just already proven as a means to increase activity and increase the experience downtown. So I'm very excited. Yes.
One more question. Are we going to be able to effectively expend the dollars before the ARPA deadline? I know it's the end
Under
of
this schedule.
24,
Yeah.
so, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So we have to have the dollars allocated and by
Okay.
2024 and expended, I believe, within 2 years after that.
Oh,
So
I thought it had to
no
be
concerns.
expended
Yeah.
by the end of
obligated.
24. I was concerned because, as we know, removing the facade, there's a lot of problems sometimes underneath. It takes a while. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Freeman.
So I'd be remiss by not saying anything, but, you know, this opening up the downtown area just is special to me because as we grew up, a lot of us, we had the open areas, and whether you're on the north or south side of Main Street, that's where you walked because one side was hotter than the other. And so, you know, it was just fun to be there. And then I think we passed a resolution or an ordinance to allow outdoor seating along the Main Street area. Is that correct? So I enjoy, when I go downtown, I like the parking challenge, like the mayor said. And my wife gets mad at me, why don't you park here? And I go, well, honey, I got sweet spots over here to park, and we have to walk. Sorry, Julie. But it's okay. I enjoy that. But I enjoy seeing the, you know, people out there congregating and eating and enjoying downtown area. But more importantly, I think it allows more interface with the city and the business owners. But then it allows a safer environment for everybody that comes down, because the colonnades hide and shade things that, you know, our public safety departments probably have a hard time policing or servicing. So yeah, I think by opening it up, it allows just general open space and allows people to feel more comfortable. And as the post gets done and other venues downtown, it'll just enhance the whole experience downtown. So thank you for doing this.
And I'll add that distance is just a perception, and when you have an area that is beautiful, activated, interesting, you sometimes want to take that walk because you want to explore and see what's there instead of exactly in front of the business and jump out. So I think when we achieve some of these projects, that it won't matter as much. And we will look at centralizing parking like we see in some other, it makes sense to be centralized in a garage, and from there we go, so that we can use our land to do more awesome places to go and things like that, and not asphalt. Thank you. And the walkability study, this is why, and mobility study, this is how we're gonna get there. Thanks.
I just wanted to reiterate what everyone has said as well. I didn't say that earlier during my comment about streetscape. I'm obviously very excited about this. I think this will add and help improve the downtown. I was just curious, and maybe you mentioned this, did we have potential tenants who used that as a reason that they were not interested in our downtown?
The colonnades?
Yeah, was that mentioned?
I have not heard that as a reason, Councilmember Goforth. I have not heard that as a reason from any of the tenants that haven't chosen downtown. For the most part, if a tenant is looking downtown and they haven't chosen it, it usually comes down to negotiations with property owner over a lease.
Yeah.
Or finding a suitable space that meets their needs.
But did I hear you say that one of the measurements is an increase in
Occupancy.
occupancy?
Yes.
So
we have several vacant buildings still, and several of the ones that we have recommended for facade improvement are vacant buildings. Or in other instances, there are uses that are less than active, not necessarily appropriate for downtown and Main Street. Great businesses, but maybe 1 block removed from Main Street would be a better location. So in 2017, when we completed facade improvement, we had properties in which the tenants chose that property specifically because it had the new facade improvement. Gus's Fried Chicken, Neighborhood Comedy Theater are two of the ones I can point to easily. Tacos Chihuas was not the first tenant after facade improvement, but they were the tenant that was there when facade improvement happened. Was not necessarily the best business model. So again, having that facade improvement really helped attract that new tenant. Well, actually, I should say the new owner of that building.
Okay, great. And then I just had to put my 2 cents real quick about the parking. I just will say I was shocked to hear that there was a parking problem when I started on the council, that anybody thought that is just not something, as you've mentioned, there is always parking. Now, is it right in front? It may not be, but that was a shock to me that that's an issue. And I chuckle a little bit that we simultaneously say we struggled maybe to attract people to downtown, and yet we have a parking problem. So I think that, and as Jen mentioned, walking is good for businesses as well. You pass businesses, you go in there. It's not a bad thing to have to walk a little bit to get to your destination. So that's my comment.
All right, I think we have provided direction.
And
That's my impression.
And you all walk away with the pro tip that if you can't find a parking space, head to the Pepper Garage.
There you go. All right.
I will valet you, Councilmember.
Jeff doesn't live that far away from downtown. I'm sure you could park at his place. We'll look forward to having parking and streetscape on the agenda at some point in the future. Moving on, next item on our agenda, item 1B, is a presentation and to provide direction on the city's application for the National Civic League 2023 All-American City Award. Andrea, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Andrea Alico, Diversity and Special Projects Manager, and hopefully here with you with another special project that the city is looking into that will garner all of your support, just as the last presentation did. The city has interest in applying for the National Civics League 2023 All-American City Award. So the National Civic League is a prestigious national organization. They have been in existence for over 125 years, celebrating different civic innovation that governments and local entities do within our community. They have a high focus in a lot of the priorities that Mayor and Council, you have stated within your strategic planning. That's with equity, environmental sustainability, looking at different types of engagement, spotlighting, topics such as education and housing. And so we feel that the city will fit right in and be very competitive with our application for this year's All-American City Award. So the All-American City Award is bestowed on 10 communities since 1949. So that means there has been over 500 communities within its lifespan of the award that are recognized. And again, they are looking to really spotlight communities that have taken critical issues and have developed ways to build those community connections, find innovative ways that bridge together the community, local government leaders, along with nonprofits and other entities in the community. So cities, counties, tribes, and other community organizations are invited to apply. But what they're really looking to see is that cities are bringing together a different cross-sector of groups spotlighted within the programs that they highlight. So that means they want to see collaboration. And they want to see that this is just as much of a community effort as it is within the city programs that we spotlight. Mesa did apply for this award back in 1979, and we did win and was bestowed that honor. So we do feel that it's time for us to go ahead and try again. We do have others within our community. The city of Phoenix did apply and was awarded last year. And then there's about 5 other nearby cities and communities that have that were awarded within about the past decade. So again, this would really be a significant honor for the city that we look forward to being competitive for. So the benefits of the award, certainly it will help us, again, be competitive. We would be able to help use it as an economic stimulator. This is something that we hear other communities have been able to use as an advantage when they are trying to acquire new businesses. Build those relationships to get that notoriety and recognition in the community. Some of the other communities have noted an increase in tourism and things like grants or financial funding that they have been awarded because of this honor and being able to call yourself an All-American City. Certainly there is the pride and collaboration. We will be, again, reaching out to many of our different community partners and stakeholders to help us champion this initiative and then celebrate it if we are given the honor. And then it does put us, once again, on a national stage. Certainly, we have been getting a lot of different national recognition, but more specifically, it would be highlighting us for the initiatives that we are going to get into shortly. So each year, there is a theme for the award. This year, it is creating thriving communities through youth engagement. What we are asked to do is showcase 3 city programs that adhere to specifically the theme, and then there are 12 additional criteria. You can see there's a sampling there below, increasing leadership opportunities for youth, improving police-youth relations, addressing poverty or homelessness for youth, job readiness for youth. So all of the 12 additional criteria are, again, youth-centric, and so that does, limit the different types of programs that we are going to be choosing from. Some of the other non-specified criteria, certainly we would want to showcase programs that are innovative, that are unique to Mesa, and that really highlight who we are as a community.
Andrea, before you leave that screen, is this theme, is that what all cities are required to respond to this theme, or did we choose this theme because it highlights our strengths?
Thank you, Mayor, for that question. This is the theme of the award itself, so all communities will be required to adhere to this theme. For this year, this is the theme, correct. And once again, all of the All-American Award, the National Civic League, they are really looking into that engagement angle. So the themes that I have noticed from the past are similar in terms of it revolves around community engagement, but the youth component is very specific to this year.
Thank you.
So on the very last slide in the slide deck, you will see that the 3 programs that we're going to recommend, how they measure up against all of the different criteria points, if you have interest in seeing that further. But I am very excited to be able to just highlight the 3 that we feel are going to be best representing Mesa this year. We have Hacktivate Mesa, which is really going to be showcasing our data and innovation. Project Lit, and that has the arts and cultural aspect. And then Spark Youth Programs. This is housed under our police department and really showcases our public safety efforts. And I do have all of those program topic experts here with me today. So if you do have any specific questions on the programs, they'd be happy to come up and help address those. So just a brief overview on the different programs and why we feel they're going to be a great fit. Hacktivate Mesa. So I know many of you were able to go out last week and participate and see it in person. But Hacktivate Mesa has been in existence for several years now, and it's a 2-day experience where the data and performance team brings in local high school students to really take on local current issues that Mayor and Council, you all are facing and addressing every day. Things like homelessness, how can we have solutions for climate change, and different types of community issues, the drug and opioid use concerns within our community. These are just a couple of the different topics that the youth are presented. They're given a data set, and then they are to come up with different types of solutions that the city and the community could help implement to address these challenges in our community. So this is really going to be highlighting STEM, critical thinking, problem solving, and showcasing the partnerships and the collaboration that the city has with our Mesa Public Schools. And then this year, they had also brought in additional partnerships with ASU, NAU, and U of A. And so we feel that this can really highlight that range of youth performance in our community. Next, we have Project Lit. This is housed through our the Mesa Art Center's Community Engagement Division. This is, once again, another partnership with Mesa Public Schools where the community engagement team goes into the schools. You can see that they have different after-school programs and residencies. They do festivals, anthologies. This is really the collaboration and giving kids the opportunity to use their voice through spoken word, poetry, hip-hop, literacy, using the arts as a means to be able to inspire the youth to have deeper emotional learning, social learning, and be able to give them the confidence to have a skill set that does not necessarily need to translate into an art form, but is also something that will help make them a competitive, job-ready, young adult as they're moving into that phase of their life. It's a wonderful, very robust program that feel that it will be a big highlight and make us, once again, a competitive applicant, not only on in the application phase of it, but when we're actually going through the competition and being able to showcase the youth as they're doing this means in front of all the judges. And then the last program is the police department's Spark Youth Programs. You can see that the acronym Spark stands for Sports, Programs, and Activities Reuniting Communities. I do want to highlight that although this is the Mesa Police Department's umbrella program, one of the initiatives is also a partnership with fire and medical, and that's going to be the Aspire program. And that will really be one of the elements that we will be looking to highlight. Because once again, that is the program where we are supporting young girls as they're trying to navigate their way into public safety efforts. But you can see that this is once again an umbrella program. They have their basketball clinics, soccer clinics with police officers. They have leadership programs, teen summer leadership programs, and other recreational activities that fall under this existing umbrella. So for the process, in December, the city did submit a letter of intention, and that gave us the opportunity to be partnered with a mentor city who has given us some of the details that we would hopefully look forward to experiencing. The application itself, if you choose to support our efforts in moving forward with submitting an application, that will be due on February 15th. We would be notified in March if we are a finalist. 20 communities are selected then to be chosen as the finalist, and again, 10 would ultimately receive the award. Through March and June, we would be then coordinating a both city and community group, so that way we would be preparing for the competition portion, and that would then occur in the middle of June, June 9th through 11th. Over the weekend, there is the competition that includes many different facets, such as a city talent show and an exhibition and a conference where there will be a lot of youth learning elements. So that way then the youth that we are bringing, this is really an opportunity for them to experience something that will be helping them be very competitive on their future resumes for college applications or hopefully jobs moving forward. So with that, happy to answer any questions.
Mayor, just real quick, I just want to thank Andrea for taking this on. I walked into her office one day and said, hey, I just got an email from the National Civic League. They're inviting us again, and they've invited us several times to participate. And it just felt like it was the right time for us to take this on. And I appreciate her work in pulling this together very quickly. I think at the time I came into our office, we had like a week to at least give our first
2 days.
2 days. Oh, that's right. It was 2 days. Sorry. I exaggerate a little bit.
City manager time is a week, staff time is.
So I appreciate her getting on top of this. We're excited. I think part of this too, I would say, we've identified these programs, and I think it would be wonderful, and I think it would be a great opportunity to pursue the award regardless. These are still very valuable programs in the city of Mason. We're going to continue to support them regardless, right? This isn't just like the culmination of those projects. So this is, I think we're very excited that when I saw the criteria or what they were looking for, I'm like, yeah, we've got a lot to choose from, and we've got some really good projects. So anyway, I just bring that to you. Wanted to thank Andrea for taking this on in a short period of time. But there is a lot of work that will take place if we are to move forward, which is okay, but it's a significant haul, and it means that we will be pulling together all of these groups together, and there will be meaning there will be a huge representation. In order to make this work, there's a lot of work that has to go in preparation, but ultimately, if we are made the finalists, we'll be making a significant presence. You have to show up with a lot of people to make this work at their conference. So anyway, I just present that and say, we're excited we have these projects. So I thank all those who have worked in these different programs to bring these up. So when the question was, do you have something like this? We're like, absolutely we do. And again, they're programs we're going to continue to do regardless of the outcome of this award process. Thank you.
Amen. I know we have a lot of comments. Let's start with Councilmember Spilsbury.
Yeah, of course I'm in support of this. I love the youth voice. I think it's so important, and I love these programs, and I think we have others that could have fit in here too, actually, but these three are fabulous and wonderful. That was actually my question, was getting all of the kids from the programs to Denver. So is there age range? Is there cost? Who's paying for it? How are we picking the kids from these different things?
Well, let's get to that point.
Okay, well, I mean, it's not even is it going to be a possibility?
We have to get into the finalist group before that happens.
Yeah.
So right now, our focus is getting these applications when is that decision made, in March?
In March, we would be notified, correct?
Right, so we have to, when we know that, then yes, then we're gonna have to come back and talk about what is that gonna look like.
Okay, 'cause
Because
you would-
it'll include all those.
Yeah, you
all
would
that
be
just
getting
talked
youth
about.
from each of these three
Right,
areas and then getting them out. Okay. I also volunteer to go if you need a city council member.
You're expected to come.
Yeah, okay.
Mayor and council, we would certainly invite all of you.
We need
I
all
even
of
have a teenager I could bring and act like she's part of this, so. And then on the matrix that's after this, I found that really interesting too, and I thought that was a good thing to look at. I would throw some X's in some of the places that they're empty. So I was just wondering, should I just talk to you about that after or ask you more specific questions about that? I mean, just one, for example, the reduced poverty and income inequality, including youth homelessness. I think the Project Lit and the police programs often are put to some of those communities with some of those kids where there's inequalities that they can participate in those programs, you know? So like that would be one specific example that I have.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, Councilmember Spilsbury. So this matrix, when we were looking at, and I should say I presented a very long list of different opportunities. So this, I want to acknowledge through the remaining city departments and the other youth-based programs that we have. It's certainly not that we thought these were the only ones that fit the criteria, but when we were trying to make sure that all the different elements were represented, we wanted to be able to make sure that at least for the application, we could have one of the programs speak specifically to a criteria piece and have that be a direct correlation. So absolutely right. I think there could almost be an argument made for every single program that we do that it fits a specific criteria. Hacktivate Mesa specifically has the young adults and the youth developing, you know, a direct. It was a specific theme in this year's Hacktivate Mesa for topics such as homelessness and inequalities. And so there was just a stronger correlation when we're looking at how can we make that argument within an application.
Okay.
But thank you for that feedback because I certainly do agree that we could take every single program that we have and find a way that it correlates with these criteria.
Is this something that you turn into them? Like, will they see this matrix?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. This was
Okay,
just
just
for-
how you were trying to figure it out. Okay.
Right, I wanted to be able to.
I was trying to make us look better if this was something that you were turning in. Okay. Because
No,
I could make an argument for some of these, but maybe it doesn't matter. Okay.
Right, this is, we just wanted to be able to showcase to you that out of the 3 programs, we are going to be covering all of the criteria that's listed. And I also wanted to be able to showcase there on the left side, the 12 criteria that, including the 13th, which is the theme that we are required to meet.
Okay. Well, this is great.
Thank you.
I support it going forward if we can figure out all of the complicated details after this.
Thank you, Mr. Summers.
Yeah, just brief comment. I support this moving forward too. I think it's important that we recognize what the city is doing. It also helps to highlight it to our own community, the projects and the benefits that we have. That said, Mr. Brady has already stated there's a cost associated to this. So as we move forward into March, assuming that we're successful, since you're managing the project, I'm assuming we're going to get in here. So I would like to know what the costs are moving forward. And as part of your presentation, you discussed that there are potential benefits to this and economic stimulus and some other things. I would like to get specific examples of that, and if there's a quantitative information about the benefits that other cities have seen as a result of this program, I'd like to have that too. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Summers. And I do have to just state what was shared with me with our mentor city, which was the city of Las Vegas. This is really what the city, you know, chooses to make of the winnings. And by saying that, that is exactly what you stated, being able to share with the community then and showcasing that we won this award, highlighting the different programs within our community. And so that economic stimulus, I will certainly look to our mentor city to provide me with that information specifically. But really what they have been able to express is that they chose to highlight it significantly, and it's not just within the year that they win it, but for years later. And so that ongoing effect is a benefit. But thank you.
Las Vegas is an all-American city?
Las Vegas is an all-American city.
Huh.
Nothing more American than Vegas.
Then, all right.
Thank you. Mr. Freeman.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Andrea, for the presentation. I remember the day in 1979 when we became an All-American city. Yeah, seriously, yeah.
Me
And the
too.
badging was all over. I even think we had maybe a mini parade or something. It was a big
It was a
deal.
big deal. We had signs in front all over the city.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, you have control of that budget, Chris. You can make it anything you want.
Well, you think about it, when at this point, if you're going to have to travel
No,
100 people or so to Denver,
50.
and all the media and everything, it'll be a commitment. But we're excited. We think this is worth highlighting. I don't know about the parade, but I'm all in for a parade. I don't know if we're going to have it in June. We may have to wait.
Well,
October.
what's that?
Sponsorships, possibly? Just put that in your ear?
We're on a.
Yeah.
Well, let's get there first, okay?
Yeah, no,
After all
agreed,
the-
obviously.
But I remember banners hanging up
Yeah,
on Main Street,
sure.
All
A lot of
America.
cities do
And all
that, yeah.
this All America, I'm sure we can find it historically, what we did.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
just to throw in, yes, if we get that far, this would be great for our city.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, there's lots of pictures still, I'm sure, of those banners. Other comments? Yes.
The same, is supportive of this. I think it's great. I think it's a great opportunity to highlight some of the wonderful things we do here in Mesa. Certainly externally, beyond Mesa, but also internally, I know you touched on. I think that's important too, and that people understand all the great things happening in those programs. So, I'm just curious how many applicants there are. Do you know? How many city applicants?
We wouldn't know yet because I think there's still, a lot of cities are going through the same process we are right now.
Okay. And then,
Correct. And an average of 40, I believe they had stated, get submitted. A lot of those, again, it can be any municipality, so anything from a small township to even a county or tribes.
and then they award 10, you said. There's,
And then 20 are invited to be a finalist, and those are notified in March. And then 10 are awarded from that group of 20.
okay, great.
Thank you. I'll just join the chorus. This is a great idea. I think Mesa will be very competitive, so I agree with that. And again, I think going through the process is very helpful. The fact that we created this matrix and we're doing some self-analysis and saying, are we checking as many boxes as we could in the way that we're doing things? That's been, if nothing else comes from that, this has been success or a very good process for us. Sometimes I joke that in Mesa we are proud of our humility, which is a little bit of an oxymoron. Which one are you, proud or are you humble? But so certainly we accept awards when they're forced upon us, but we're typically not out, bragging. That's just not our style. But I think occasionally we need to do this, and I agree with Mr. Freeman. This was a point of pride back in 1979. That little humble Mesa was, received this award, and it's exciting that we might take this on again. So I endorse it wholeheartedly.
Sorry, I have
Ms.
a last
Duff.
minute question. So let's say we win, and I think we will. So does the organization come here and throw some kind of ceremony? Is there anything like that, or we're like it's all happening in Denver, and then we are to our own to do some kind of recognition and celebration in our own city?
Thank you, Councilmember Duff. Yes, that would be, it would be the city's ability to kind of spotlight this as largely as we would like to. So the National Civic League would certainly have a relationship with us, and we would be able to invite them out and participate in that aspect of it. I failed to mention, as it was mentioned before, a lot of the cities will get the All-American City signage that you'll see on street signs and different types of posts. There's others that have parades and do banners. So all of that would be in our control to be able to make as grand as we would like.
So what's the big benefit of being an All-American city? Of course, we'd be very proud, and I'm not debating it at all. But is it just to be familiar with the accolades or what comes with that for a city who is able to claim that they are an all-American city? Is it economic? Is it just, being able to say you're an all-American city? What are the true benefits that come into our city?
Thank you, Councilmember Duff. So, once again, each city has the opportunity to make it as impactful as they choose. So, what was expressed to me again through our mentor city, but also what I have been able to gauge from all of the other communities, including our own local entities, so Phoenix, Chandler, Tempe, some of those that had won and applied within the past several decades. It's that, first of all, the primary point is being able to have that sense of pride and being able to showcase our programs and efforts on a national stage. The 3 programs that we select will likely be able to get various types of recognition, whether that be news stories across the nation, whether that's invited to conferences to be able to showcase our performance in other elements. But the part that was also pretty significant was the economic impact. For cities that are trying to garner more large-scale businesses, this is something that we are able to list as being nationally recognized. The other increase that many of the other cities had reported was specifically to grants and different types of funding for additional programs, and being able to have that title. I liken it to, within the film and television industry, you have an Oscar. This is the highest achievable award when it comes to civic engagement. And so, to be even an Oscar nominated, finalist, even has its own sense of prestige being amongst winners. And so to be a finalist, to hopefully be awarded the title, this is something that will be able to help leverage Mesa for definitely years to come. And but we have the opportunity to make it as impactful as we choose.
Great, thank you. I sense a lot of enthusiasm, so we're chartering the bus right now to go to Denver, I think.
Thank you so much for your support, and yes, please earmark those dates in Denver in June. We hope to take this over the finish line.
Okay, thank you. Next item on our agenda is current events and conferences attended. I know we didn't have a meeting last week, so there's probably a lot to talk about. Who would like to go first? Ms. Spilsbury?
Sure. I never know which ones to bring up. I'll bring up Hacktivate, I guess, since that's one of our highlighted programs. Hacktivate was last Wednesday and Thursday, and I was able to drop in with several of the council on Wednesday to talk to some of the groups and answer some of their questions and hear their thought process behind their projects, and that was really fun. I love teenagers. And then Thursday, I attended the ceremony where they presented their projects. There's some great ideas there, and that was really fun. And then last Saturday, I attended the Regional Unity Walk. Councilmember Duff and Mayor Giles were there, and I loved it. It was really fun. We were with Phoenix, Tempe, Scottsdale, Chandler, Gilbert, Guadalupe, and there were elected officials from all those cities and tons of people. It was beautiful weather, and we walked. It was much more than a mile, almost 2 miles. They lied to us. We were just having so much fun, it felt like a mile. But anyways, so I wanted to thank all of those that were part of that. That was a really fun night, beautiful weather. And then I will just bring up, I guess, the library's program right now to help make Valentines for our homebound residents. I know Councilmember Goforth made some. I made some with my youth group last night, and on Saturday at the main library from 1:30 to 4, you can go and make some there, or you can go pick up one of the take-home kits to spread Mesa kindness for Valentine's Day. That's it for me. There's a bunch of other things, but I'm assuming other people will pick up.
Okay, thanks. Who would like to go next? Councilmember Duff.
I'll go. Yes, and I will be at the library on Saturday, so please join me in making Valentines for seniors at the main library here in downtown Mesa. A few of the things that we did last Tuesday, I think all of us attended the point in time homeless count, going out and speaking with our homeless to find out more about their situation, the number out there, and what their needs are. Vice Mayor Heredia and I also attended Native Health, a NFL Greening Project. With the Super Bowl being here, NFL is doing a number of projects across the metropolitan area. And one of them is a greening project where they take properties and they green them up. They add landscaping and enhance cities. And it was at Native Health at Extension and Southern. I wanted to thank them for that and contributing to our city. On Tuesday, I attended Women in Water and Agriculture. Thank you, Councilmember Freeman, for that referral. And had a number of experts throughout the area talking about where we are on water, what we need to do. The takeaway is we all need to take the responsibility of water with immediacy and honesty. And that the operations of Glen Canyon and Hoover Dam are at serious risk over the next year, depending on our runoff that we have. So it's always good to learn more about water, and our city will be approaching those issues as well, and working with other entities. Yesterday, we kicked off Black History Month at the ASU Mix Center right here in downtown Mesa with the unveiling of the Sidney Poitier mural. This is right inside if you have a chance to see it in the public area. Thank you to Governor Hobbs and the director of the Sidney Poitier New American Film School, Cheryl Boone Isaacs, for speaking, and there was many artists. It was a very moving, and I love the event. It was a great way to kick off Black History Month. That's some of the highlights. Thank you.
Great. Vice Mayor.
Couple things. Just want to give a shout out to our Parks Department. We have 3 little libraries at 3 West Mesa parks right now that we're piloting and seeing how that activates both our little libraries and our parks. So that should be an interesting project that I think we can expand in the future, where we can meet people with our literacy, and as we launch another program around, reading, it's, looking at our parks and our assets to engage that could be a worthwhile endeavor. Another piece is last Saturday, there was another Lunar New Year celebration at MCC. I was shocked with just how many people were there. It's just thousands of people went to that event, really successful, and a lot of great food and activities, and just, the demand that folks have for these types of events in that corridor, just keeps on being a great opportunity for us, I think, to even further highlight the Asian district. In addition, Councilmember Duff and I went to Heritage Academy. There was an incident that happened in November, and I got to know the parents because they own a restaurant in District 3, but one of the students almost died, and his heart stopped, and we awarded some recognition, and thanks to the Mesa Fire and Medical Department, we awarded a 911 operator, a teacher, and a student that helped the student that almost died in there to, survive that incident. And just astonishing from the time that happened and the time he was able to get to the hospital was minutes. And so the response time that our personnel had is just, saved this young child's life. And so that was a really moving ceremony for us to attend, just how our firefighters and our 911 operators and our personnel and folks that assisted this and just have in our community just a need for when those things happen. And then yesterday, the Dobson Ranch Library was open finally, and great success as far as tremendous the new thing spot and just the things that were added into this renovation. It's just going to be an even cooler place to be at the Dobson Ranch Library. So, and then this weekend, I think we have the Mesa Marathon, and hopefully folks have seen the signs over the last 2 months along the raceway, and folks are gonna finish that review, so I'll be out there early morning at 6:30 passing out medals to the runners there. But if you live in that area, please avoid it or try to work around that timing that you got notice for. So from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. I think for the most part in the northeast and northwest side of the city. So.
Can I just add on
good to
to
remember.
that?
Yes,
I
Ms. Dunn.
had some residents concerned in the downtown area being trapped during this, but here's a solution. First of all, there is a GIS map online that you can find, and you find that link on social, as well as everybody should have got a postcard. But here's the thing, the transportation department is wonderful, and I've been referring people to them to call. They're open today, they're closed tomorrow, so today is the day to call them if you have to get out of your neighborhood and don't know how you're going to do that. Best to know your route ahead of time, otherwise it will be very frustrating. So the number to call, they're gonna love me for this, but they've been so helpful.
No, it's good.
Is 480-644-4882. And that's the transportation department. They're glad to help you with routing, how you can get to your destination during the marathon on Saturday. Thank you.
Yes, amen. We are a marathon city, and so I think each year people catch on to that, and the frustration is less and less because you plan around this event. So thank you for sharing that information. Councilmember Goforth.
Yeah, the fact that the transportation is offering the one-on-one route preparation is great. I as well enjoyed going to watch the presentations at Hacktivate and talking to the participants. Their presentations were informative and impressive. I was able to have a Red Mountain High School senior shadow me on Monday. That was fun, Kara Brown. She was able to attend the Mesa Firefighters Memorial Service and enjoyed seeing that ceremony. As Julie mentioned, or Councilmember Spilsbury, I participated at Red Mountain Library in making some Valentines to be delivered to different seniors around the city. So that was a fun activity, and met some of the volunteers that spend quite a bit of their time volunteering at the Red Mountain branch. I also had the opportunity to wish a Mesa resident a 100th birthday at one of our facilities in District 5, and that was a lot of fun. Helen Fountain turned 100, so we celebrated her. And then also went to Boeing this week for a leaders briefing and another tour. I've toured the place several times now, but it's surprising. I see something new every time I go and really enjoy that. It's a great company to have in District 5, and I'm proud that they're there. So I enjoy being there whenever I can be.
Thank you. Mr. Summers.
Thank you, Mayor. Few things. First thing, I attended the retirement of 2 police officers. It happened simultaneously. Will Biakoshia, I told you I'd screw that up, and Louis Orozco. These 2 officers combined had over 50 years of service to the community of Mesa. It was an impressive attendance, and they were particularly involved in training of other police officers. Their experience is going to be sorely missed. And I know there are a lot of officers, there's a big hiring time about 20 years ago in this city for police officers and public safety folks. And we're coming up on their eligibility to retire. So this is getting to be a point where we're in constant recruitment for police officers. So if anybody listening is interested in being a police officer, I highly recommend you go to the police website. There are positions available as we speak. In addition, speaking of training, we all attended the new training facility dedication for the police department. Being a police officer is tough work, and it takes a lot of training. The ability to recognize situations and the type of help that people need is absolutely critical. So dedicating the new facility is a huge bonus for us. It was already mentioned, Boeing. I also went to Boeing to have a tour. As a veteran, I love to walk around there and see it's Army, but I love to see the helicopters as they're done in production. Not only is Boeing one of our largest and arguably most important aerospace manufacturing companies here, they do a tremendous amount of work for veterans. They actively seek out veterans to employ them as technicians. But even more importantly, as a father of a woman in STEM, they seek STEM education for women and minorities, and that's an incredibly important project, and I'm glad to see them doing it. I'd also like very quickly to introduce Lieutenant Higbee, who's in the audience. He tried to teach me how to say Will's last name, but it didn't stick. He will be shadowing me throughout the day. Lieutenant Higbee is with the police department, so I don't know if I'm being shadowed or followed. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Detail.
It's my security detail?
Detail.
Oh, I'm special.
Executive protection.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Freeman, I know you're going to want to talk about the firefighter memorial.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So I appreciate that. You know, that culminated with the 125th anniversary of our fire department, but so importantly, it brought a lot of closure to a lot of the families who have long since we've not had a memorial service for them. And there were about 40 family members there. And so I appreciate the staff for being there, public safety departments, all that's been done. So that really, again, they reached out to the office and said they really appreciated that. I attended other meetings during the week. It seems like community residences are the top topic in my district right now. So dealing with some of those things, and appreciate Mr. Smith's words of pearls of wisdom on some of that discussion. So with that, thank you.
Thank you. We had a long list of things, and I've crossed everything off, so thank you, Council, for mentioning all the things that have happened over the last week. A couple of things that weren't mentioned. I did have an opportunity to meet, we had a federal official in town a week ago, Mr. Jeff Olivet, who's the United States Interagency Council on Homelessness. I got that right after several attempts. There is a new White House strategic plan on homelessness that is I think hopefully we're going to be able to take advantage of in the city. Not hopefully, we will. But it was just a good opportunity to sit down with someone from the federal government and review what we're doing and look for opportunities to get better. I have had the opportunity, this is State of the City time, and so I've had the opportunity to go to Mayor Dickey in Fountain Hills, and last night went to Mayor Chip Hall's in Apache Junction. I appreciate the good relationships that we have with our neighboring cities, and we'll see a lot of other our neighboring cities come on this next Tuesday morning, and it's just been fun to associate with them. Something that wasn't mentioned, there was the 100 Club, which supports first responders. They had a big event last Saturday at Riverview Park and raised a lot of money that will be supporting Mesa and East Valley first responders, so I appreciate them. I had a tour at the MD helicopter, and they kept talking about how, the Councilmember Goforth had just been here, and they were very impressed. And so it's been a few years since I'd been out to MD, but that was good to get reacquainted with what an asset that is in our community. And I think Mr. Summers mentioned this, but the gun range dedication to the former range master Gene Scott was very appropriate, and great that we could help our recruits and our current police officers understand that there is a lot of legacy individuals that have done a lot to get our public safety departments to the elite level they are now. So I thought that was particularly meaningful that we had the opportunity to do that. I'm sure there's other things that we haven't talked about, but thank you, Council, for sharing those things. Mr. Brick.
I think you could probably elaborate a little bit more on an upcoming State of the City on Tuesday. You just kind of.
Well, the next item on our agenda is schedule of meetings and current events.
You want to just go ahead and why don't we share that?
Thank you. We kind of do an oversized State of the City in Mesa. We put a lot of effort into it, and so I'm really looking forward to this Tuesday morning. I know Council will be there. we're trying to fit 20 pounds of flour in a 10-pound sack, so we'll get, there's a lot to say. You know, the question is what falls off the program, because this city has got so much to talk about. It's been sold out for a long time because.
Actually, there's an extensive waiting list.
That's true. The capacity of, I'll tell you what, the capacity of the Mesa Convention Center is 900 people, and we'll have probably 950 people there Tuesday morning. So, if you want to go, ask around and try to get a seat. So, to me, that's just exciting because it shows that the city of Mesa is really, as I said earlier, we're proud of our humility, but we don't have good reason to be proud of our humility. We've got a lot to say, a lot of good stories to share. So I think this is our annual opportunity just to brag about ourselves and to talk about all the good things that are happening in our community. So hopefully we'll be successful at that. We will, because there's a lot of, thank you already in advance to Channel 11 and all the staff that have dedicated hours and hours to prepare for this event. So I'm really looking forward to it. Yes, while it is sold out, it will, on multiple platforms, you can watch it. It'll be live streamed and on social media, and then of course it'll be rebroadcast on Channel 11 an obnoxious number of times, over the next.
All different times of the day.
That's right. We'll do our best to, to force people to see how cool Mesa is. That's right. Mr. Brady, did I adequately cover that?
Thank you.
All right.
I just thought you were better at doing that than I would, so.
Thank you.
And then just a reminder, we do have another council study session a week from today on February 9th, so thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. If there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn this meeting? Thank you, Ms. Spilsbury. I'm sorry. I'm just supposed to say that Mr. Freeman seconded that. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you. We are adjourned.